folks, and welcome once again. Um, yeah, big cricketing year, as every year is actually. Every single year we sort of turn up, and the calendar is chock a block, and it doesn't seem to stop. It was just the other day, wasn't it, when the World Cup was on, and we're all engrossed in that. And prior to that, World Test Championship, um, and kind of trying to figure who's winning it, who's not, all of that stuff. But they come thick and fast, the fixtures. And on my mind, and has been for some time, and I wonder if you're going to give me some sort of answers with regard to this. I posed this question: who owns the calendar? Who owns the cricket calendar, right? Who is it who determines which part of it they can populate in terms of scheduling and fixtures, and which part shouldn't be? How is it that whoever it is lays claim to it? Is it kind of a free for all in terms of cricket, and see what's left and see how kind of the dust settles after the rumble, as it were, in the jungle of the calendar? Or is there a kind of set way that this is supposed to work? I speak about it because it's congested, and it has been for some time. And as we go on, there's just more and more that's being put on the calendar. Just think about it. I mean, so we speak about World Cup, and then what happens straight after? There's obviously some bilateral tours that must occur. Those go ahead. Think about all qualification tournaments for World Cups by the ICC. That goes ahead, and away you go. Then think about the various franchise tournaments that go on. They go ahead, and we're not talking about just one or two, we're talking about many. IPL being the biggest of the lot, which kind of carved out that window way back when in 2008, 2009. There were ructions still. 2010, there might have been some dissenters still kind of going. But by kind of year 3 and 4, that was carved out. And it is known now that that is the window. And then think about the fact that, I said IPL, I suppose we should go through all of them. BBL goes on, and I think it's going to revert to be a bit shorter. It would go on and on and on. The people would make the jokes, wouldn't they? Is the BBL still on? Then let's go to CPL, which occurs, PSL, which also occurs, BPL occurs, the Sri Lankan Premier League, that also goes on. Now South African T20, so SA20, that happens as well. There just isn't a space in terms of the scheduling. I'll throw in Major League Cricket. What about that? Who determines? Surely there's got to be some sort of order in how this works. This got to work with a World Test Championship and ICC World Cups and ICC T20 World Cups. This is, I reckon, the congestion is it kind of coming to a head. So what's going to happen? Who then decides? And I wonder, I haven't thrown in the bilaterals, by the way. So what about the boards? What do they decide? How do they decide? When and where does their cricket fit in? We have a scenario where SA20 is going on, and South Africa's test match team is playing in New Zealand. And because of deals struck and all the rest, nitty gritty, the players contracted to SA20 can't be available for selection in that test match team, so an alternate team is going. And so not all of South Africa's players are available in the selection of a test match team that will play against New Zealand in New Zealand. Yep. I might throw in something else, and I don't know if this is about availability or not, or retirement, or players sometimes don't make themselves available or available for selection for a particular tour. But the West Indies are in Australia at the same time as the SA20 begins, and sort of goes just about, halfway, maybe a bit more than halfway in. And you have players from the West Indies who are playing in the SA20, whom, by my own judgment, could and would play in that West Indies test match side. Talk about something else in terms of scheduling, not so much in terms of clashes. We've seen it before, where India as a team has fulfilled fixtures test match wise in one country and fulfilled one day or limited overs fixtures in another country with a separate team. Are we headed there very quickly? One, partly because of the mixing and matching of schedules, and kind of we can schedule that at the same time as that, or is that just a consequence of the franchises are taking over the calendar, and what you're getting is the boards, the international boards, kind of picking up the scraps and trying to fit in what they can fit in the periods in between, and kind of doing their obligatory playing of other nations for the sake of doing it, rather than putting that as the top, the pinnacle. Is international cricket the pinnacle? Is test match cricket the pinnacle? Can it be the pinnacle and yet still not have players prioritizing it? And I don't think those two are mutually exclusive, by the way. I think we may be able to sort of sit and say, if you asked everybody to a man and say, which is the pinnacle format of the game, might arrive at everybody saying it is test match cricket. For many reasons, right? But you could ask those same people whether they would forego certain franchise tournaments to go and represent their country and play test matches, and they could answer no. Understandably, one's less lucrative than the other, or I should say one's more lucrative than the other. And essentially everybody's just trying to feed their family, feed themselves, whatever the case may be. Where does it leave us? Whose job is it to protect test match cricket, to protect international cricket? Whose job is it? On whose shoulders does that lie? And how can it be best done? Is it a case of ICC saying, right, the calendar, the cricket calendar, as the custodians of the game cricket, is ours, and we ought to demarcate what you can have and what you can't have within this calendar? I wonder if it helps things, the frequency, or hinders the frequency of World Cups and qualifying tournaments and all the rest. There will come a point, I think, where you just can't fit it all in. And I think we probably are at that point where players themselves are kind of seeing kind of a conflict, because they must choose which they will do, because they can't do all of it. You'll see a case of early retirements. We say that early retirements just simply because this wasn't available before, and players would play much longer and would retire in their mid-30s rather than when they're just about 30 or just over, make themselves unavailable for red ball cricket so they can be available for all the white ball stuff, and they can maximize on the franchise stuff. It's a conundrum. There were those who are saying, oh, you know, with South Africa's selected side, there ought to be a sanction of some sort because it denigrates the game, the test game, the international contest. But I don't know that we can blame anyone. I don't know that we can point fingers at anyone particularly, because it seems, you know, money is the answer. If there's money somewhere, that's where everybody will go. If there's something to forego, it's the one that pays less money, or the one that doesn't pay, as the case may be. I don't know. It's a worrying scenario, though. And I'd love to engage on it. Not the last time I think I'll speak about it, because for now, these are just these thoughts that have come to mind that I don't really have answers for. So I'll engage my colleagues, all of you as well, of course, just to hear where you are with all of this and how far this will go, or where this is kind of leading us. Perhaps we'll find answers, perhaps we won't. That's it for now. Catch you later. Don't forget to subscribe. Yeah, press the subscribe. Let's chit chat, and we'll keep sending you cool stuff. Bye for now.